That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Raymer. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. Glad you're here today. Good to be here as well. Good to be sober, of course. Sober-minded. No alcohol. Who needs it? As Paul Churchill would say, alcohol is shit. What's up, Paul? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well as well is what I was going to say. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm not sure. Glad you're here, though. This is episode 356, the top 10 tools to stay sober, brought to you by Transitions Daily. You can go to transitionsdaily.org. Check out more resources there. There's a pandemic resources tab, which is where this list came from. So a big shout out to Transitions. You get a daily AA meeting. A daily AA email is what I meant, sent to your inbox, one of my favorite tools of recovery. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Let me get to a couple announcements first. Check out the Locals community, that Sober Guy podcast Locals community in particular. The Locals app provides direct access to your favorite content creators and their communities. So we started one up. It's kind of like Instagram meets Patreon. You can support us. You can go on there, check out what we're posting, what we're talking about. You can like stuff on there. It's a great social media, free, don't sell your data platform that I really like. I'm really enjoying it in there. So shout out to all my Locals people. Appreciate your support and the interaction going on. I look forward to looking at it every day. And if you haven't joined in yet, the link is in the show notes. You can go to thatsoberguypodcast.locals.com and join us in there. Tell us what's up. If you do join too, drop us a little comment on there. What's up? Introduce yourself. I love it. There's plenty of free content and premium content. I release the podcast early in there sometimes. And we're doing some different questions and keeping each other accountable. So good stuff there. Also, check us out at thatsoberguy.com. You can leave us a voicemail. You can send us a message through the contact form. You can grab How to Navigate the First 90 Days of Sobriety, digital podcast course there. People talking about, my friends, doctors, a good group of people talking about how to navigate their own first 90 days of sobriety, how they did it, what worked, what didn't work. I share a little bit of my story in there. So you can check that out on the website as well. And then last but not least, and we'll get to this top 10 tools to stay sober in 2021, actually, is the official title of the list, at least. I put out some new hoodies. And through the end of March, you're going to get free shipping by using the code NOHANGOVER. Use the promo code NOHANGOVER. The new hoodies are cool. One says Powerless, that's Sober Guy Podcast. One says Let Go, Let God, that's Sober Guy Podcast. Another one says Easy Does It. And then my favorite one is the Surrender one. It says Surrender. You got hats on there. You got t-shirts, tank tops, all kinds of good stuff going on. The old school coffee mug. Even put the old Keep Your Blood Clean Sober Guy Radio logo one back up at the request of one of the homies there. So we appreciate that. Who was that Chris that asked that? I think it was Chris. He said, man, have you thought about putting the Keep Your Blood Clean one? And I said, as a matter of fact, I have an old logo. I used to have it out. For some reason, we pulled it off. I don't remember why, but it's back out there. So you can check that out there too. All right, let's dive into this list here. And first and foremost, top 10 tools to stay sober in 2021, like I mentioned, comes from transitionsdaily.org. You can get more tools like the daily AA email, like this list, like podcast recommendations. You can get the Sober Meditations app on there. That can be found. You can also, I believe the Fourth Dimensioners meeting is linked on there. And a shout out to Fourth Dimensioners. Let's give those guys a round of applause for last week's meeting. They had the, was it Monday or Tuesday? Or this week, I'm sorry. It was Monday. It was the year anniversary, March 15th. Of the official start of the Fourth Dimensioners meeting. So it was a great meeting, a lot of good things being shared in there. One of the things that really stood out for me was a guy named Mark. I believe his name was Mark. He had a few good things to say, and one of them that really, hit me, and I've been thinking about it all week. He said, it doesn't make you any less of a man to ask for help. And it doesn't make you any more of a man or any better of a man to help somebody else. And I thought that was great. I don't even know what it was if I try to dive into it more, I'm not really sure I want to do that right now, but there's something about that just made me feel simple. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. It's very simple. It's not as complex, and we don't need to overthink shit, in other words. Like, I'm just doing the best I can. I'm not afraid to ask for help, and I'm not afraid to help somebody else. It doesn't make me any better or worse, either end of that. And I think that's something that really can help be at ease when we start to understand something like that. So good stuff in that. Once again, big shout out to Fourth Dimensioners. Appreciate the meeting, and it's helping a lot of people. So you guys are all doing great work, and thank you for being able to use that resource. I have so many people who reach out and have questions, or they don't know where to go. Do you know of a meeting? And I always send them there. And I just have been able to even in the meeting the other night, just hear from a couple people who said that they found the meeting through the podcast, which is awesome. One of the other ones that was great, Buddy actually went and drove around in Atlanta and put flyer. I remember I talked to him, I think the day that he was doing this, or maybe the following day. I said, what's going on with you? Oh, I just drove around and put up flyers at all the different Alano clubs and different meeting spots. That way, in case someone shows up to a meeting and it's closed, the meeting's closed, then they'll know that, hey, there's a Zoom meeting they can go. And so there was a couple of people in there that actually found the meeting from those flyers. And it was cool. It's a cool story to hear too. So you get that stuff when you get organized. And that's one of the top 10 tools today, is talking about community meetings. So let's jump into that right now. And let's go down this list. Number 1, attend as many 12-step. I kind of changed that up, by the way. It said a certain group. I'll just leave it at that. Attend as many 12-step meetings as possible. And here's the and, participate. Let me preface this too. I took no notes on this on purpose. I did a very brief scan of the top 10 list, and I want this to be very raw, and I'm just going to go down the list and kind of commentate and think as real as possible in the moment, being in the moment, I guess. We're practicing that. As you listen to this in the moment, I'm recording this in the moment. So that's how it's a good habit, I think, to get into, is trying to center ourselves and just be in the moment, not over planning stuff, which I can tend to do sometimes. So back to it. Number 1, attend as many 12-step meetings as possible and participate. I know for me, when I get into some of the bigger meetings, especially, it's kind of easy to sit back in the back and not really say much. And, and that's good to do sometimes. You just need to listen, depending on where you're at, what you're going through, what your day's looking like. Maybe it's one of those days where you don't need to talk. You don't want to talk. You don't have anything to say. That's fine. But we can't do that all the time. There are times when we need to express how we're feeling, when we need to talk about things, when we need to ask questions. So as much as listening is a very high priority, and you can participate, I guess, now that I'm thinking about this. Participation means listening too. It doesn't just mean talking all the time, but more or less being coherent, being involved. I think something to do with that would be wanting to be there too. Do you want to be sober? If you do, then you should probably get to some sort of meeting, some sort of group. Let me go down the list of a few of these: AA, NA, Refuge Recovery, Celebrate Recovery. I have no experience with Smart Recovery, but it is one that I hear about often, or have heard about often. Maybe it's a men's group or a women's group, a church group, a friends group, a marriage group. I mean, some sort of community where you can get some feedback, some expression, some other perspective, get involved in as much stuff that you can allow yourself to have time, to do and be able to digest as you can, especially in those first, couple days, those first 30, 60, 90, the first year. So important. Attend as many 12-step meetings as possible and participate. Let's move on to number 2. Get a sponsor and work the steps. Get a sponsor, get a friend, get a mentor, work the steps. Go through and do the work. Not an easy thing sometimes, especially when we get to, some of the more daunting steps, like a fourth step where you got to list everything out that you are not very proud of sometimes or that you're hurting over, all that stuff. But that's where the work comes in. That's where the healing comes in. That's where the insight comes in. That's where sometimes that little light bulb goes off and you don't even know it by being in those conversations, doing those types of, call them exercises. I don't know what you'd call them, but step work. How about that? We'll call it that. So it's kind of two parts, right? And the first part, getting a sponsor, we've done a couple podcasts on that. How do you get a sponsor when Buddy's been on a couple times? We also talk about it in the How to Navigate the First 90 Days of Sobriety digital podcast course. How do you find a sponsor? Where do you find one? How do you ask? What does that look like? What is, how do you go about it? It's a question I know I had, and I still think about it sometimes. And it's so important to have that accountability. That accountability is huge. And then, like I said, doing the work. So get a sponsor, work the steps, number 2. Number 3, when tempted, think the drink through and remind yourself why you stopped. When tempted, think the drink through and remind yourself why you stopped. I think there's a couple things with this that first come to the front of my cranium first off. Temptation, craving is going to happen. It's going to happen. And it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean that I'm bad. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't be happening. And why do I say that? Because I can remember early on when I would have cravings, when I would really want to just, I would get mad at myself. I would get frustrated. Why are you thinking like that? Stop. You're supposed to be sober. When in fact, it's actually pretty normal to have those cravings, to have those temptations, those minutes, those seconds of uncomfortableness where we wish we could just numb out or pick up a drink. We have to think those through and we have to sit on them. That's what a sponsor is for, a mentor. We can call somebody. We can have contingency plans set up so when those temptations come, because we've learned to expect them, now we have a way to deal with them. And we can remind ourselves why we stopped in the first place. We know where that leads to. So if you do have a craving, if you do have a thought, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. Let it pass. That's the thing. Most of the time, when I've talked to people, when I've experienced this for myself, that craving doesn't last very long. If I can get through it, if I can call my sponsor, if I can call my friend, if I can talk to somebody about it. Even my wife, I've talked to her many times about, man, I really feel like I wish I could just get hammered right now because I don't want to fucking deal with this. That's the easy way out. And it doesn't happen as often. My jacket's all revving up on my beard here. It doesn't happen as often as it used to, right? But it does happen still. And I have grown and understand to expect that could happen at any time. And I'm pretty, I'm ready for it. So when tempted, think the drink through, remind yourself why you stopped. Number 3. Number 4, I love this one. Practice gratitude first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Let me read you the 2 prayers for my morning prayer and nighttime prayer. And the nighttime, this is in addition to, of course, praying with my kids, man. That's like one of my favorite things to do. My son makes me pray twice with him. It's always one regular prayer, and then it's just about my dreams. Just about my dreams. Dad, just pray about my dreams. Freaking hilarious. So we just pray about his dreams. But for him, that's, that helps him get in a state where he's ready to go to sleep. For me, the morning prayer helps get in a state ready to go for the day. The nighttime prayer, let me wind down. But the morning prayer, God, direct my thinking today so that it be divorced of self-pity, dishonesty, self-will, self-seeking, and fear. God, inspire my thinking, decisions, and intuitions. Help me to relax and take it easy. Free me from doubt and indecision. Guide me through this day and show me my next step. God, give me what I need to take care of any problems. I ask all these things that I may be of maximum service to you and my fellow man. Amen. And I'm not saying I read verbatim every morning. I kind of know the ins and outs of that, so I can kind of free flow with that. But I love looking at On Awakening too, right below it. Let's do the On Awakening. If you're listening to this in the morning, this is perfect. And if you're listening to this at night or in the afternoon, we'll get to the closing or the nighttime one in a minute. AA mornings, On Awakening. Let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. So I can remember doing On Awakening every day when I was in the old Rahab. That was one of my favorite parts of the day, is starting that day, going upstairs, kicking it with everybody in the big room, and doing our morning meditation. We did some Qigong, I remember. And we did On Awakening, and it was always a great way to start the day, and I still believe that. Night prayer, and I'll make this one quick, and then we're going to move on to number 5. I'm going to keep this thing moving today. Night prayer. God, forgive me for I have been resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid today. Help me to not keep anything to myself, but to discuss it all openly with another person. Show me where I owe an apology and help me make it. Help me to be kind and loving to all people. Use me in the mainstream of life, God. Remove worry, remorse, or morbid reflections that I may be of usefulness to others. Amen. And they also have nights. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time, or were we thinking of others, of what we could do for others, or what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making it our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire that corrective measures should be taken. So you have 2 spots there that you can use for your morning and your evening prayer. And what is I feel like I kind of actually missed the whole point of this, and I apologize, but practicing gratitude. Now, yes, by doing that, we're practicing gratitude in the morning, and in the evening, we can set that up like that. But also just being grateful throughout the day for all the shit we're blessed with. It's easy to focus on the stuff we don't have, we don't get to do, we can't do, the things we want more of. It's a little bit harder to really truly see what position you're actually in right now, and that you do have a lot of things to be thankful for. How about just taking a breath? I'm alive. It's a good place to start, right? Who knows? So practicing gratitude first thing in the morning and last thing at night is huge. And that's a couple ways you can do that there. You can also just say a simple meditation, simple prayer inside your head. Practicing gratitude. Attitudes of gratitude. Good stuff. Number 5, take care of your body. Eat right, sleep right, exercise, and drink lots of water. That speaks for itself, in my opinion. We need to be healthy. We need to be doing our best to sleep, exercising, drinking lots of water, taking vitamins if you can. It's crucial to everyday living. It's crucial to recovery. I know it's a big part of my recovery. What is this that just popped up there? I don't know what that was. Staying mentally fit, emotionally fit. All of that stuff, staying sober, falls into taking care of us, taking care of our bodies, taking care of our mental health, all that. And drink lots of water. It's a good one too. I've always underestimated the amount of water you should drink for one day. Good stuff. It just reminded me, this is hilarious. My buddy Scotty, freaking so funny, man. He used to always say, I drink two things, Coors and water, and that's it. And he literally only drinks two things, Coors and water, and that's it. Freaking comedy. Number 6, watch videos about the devastating effects of alcohol and listen to podcasts focused on sobriety. Hey, you're doing that right now. If you're listening to this, you're listening to a podcast focused on staying sober. And then you can watch videos about all the shit that alcohol causes. Yeah, it's no fun. Hangovers, bad decisions. Nothing really ever good came out of my drinking habits when they were, especially in the last year or two. So watch videos about devastating effects of alcohol. So you're setting yourself up. That's more of doing the work. And then finding some podcasts focused on sobriety, which there's a ton of them out there. So you got plenty of stuff to choose from. Number 7, reach out to others in need with a text, email, or voice message. This is great because you're helping others. One of the best things I've learned and continue to learn and continue to try to take action on is when I'm feeling like shit, go help somebody else. How do I get out of myself? Stop that selfish way of thinking, which is so natural for all of us. How do I get out of that? I go help someone. And it works. It really does. So if you need to shoot someone a text, if you need to check in on someone with an email, or you just need to give them an old-fashioned phone call, do it. Do it. It'll make you feel better. And of course, it's going to make the person feel way better. It's going to make them feel wanted. It's going to make them feel like you care. And when we can get in that state of mind, it's a hell of a lot better and a lot easier to stop with the selfish way of thinking that many of us who struggle with this stuff have. And I know personally, that's a big one. It's a big one for me to get out of my own head. I guess I'm ashamed to say it, and I'm not ashamed to say it because I understand it, but I can be selfish sometimes. Who can't? We all can be selfish, and when I can break that way of thinking, it seems to be a bit better, a bit easier, giving. And it's a daily work, trying to get better at it a little bit each day. Number 8, get a sobriety app to track your days sober and dollars saved. Really good idea here. The one that's coming to mind for me, it actually used to be one of our old sponsors, the I Am Sober app. So you can go to the App Store. I'll recommend that one just because it's one I'm familiar with. And, we did have a partnership with those guys a couple of years back. Good dudes over there. But I Am Sober app, you can go there. You can track your sober days. You can track how much money you've saved. And it's a really good idea to hold yourself accountable right now. It'll shoot you alerts on your phone. You need that. It's important to keep a record and to stay on point, and not so much a record. I think that's maybe the wrong way to put it. It's more accountability. You're holding yourself accountable by seeing your days, and as you kind of go through it, and it helps to give you a little bit of insight, feedback, reason, whatever you want to say, to keep going. So that's good. Number 9, embrace the cold, shut off the hot water. So this is one, when I skimmed over it earlier, I thought to myself, that's interesting, because I'm not really sure if that means like cold shot showers, which I've heard. In other words, I don't know if this is literal or if there is some sort of analogy to this one that I'm not privy to. But embracing the cold and shutting off the hot water, I think you could probably look at that a couple different ways. And you can look at it as being uncomfortable, embrace being uncomfortable for a minute. Yeah, you got the soothing hot water and it feels so good and everything's great. And then all of a sudden, no, you're cold as shit when you get out. You don't have a towel and the hot water went cold at the last minute because you were in there too long standing around. And now it's cold. Can we embrace that for a minute? It's cold as shit. But it also wakes us up. It also heightens our consciousness, or do we just mean it literally? Like literally take a cold fucking shower and see how that feels. So a couple of different things there. I like it though. Embrace the cold, shut off the hot water. Number 10, last but not least, become an active part of a community, online or in person. And remember that the difference between wellness and illness is we, not I. Love that. It's good stuff right there. The difference between wellness and illness is we, not I. So what does that mean? Like, I can't do this on my own. Never have been able to. Tried many times. Couldn't get sober on my own. Can't stay sober on my own. I can't really do a whole lot on my own. It's much better, much easier, much funner, much more relaxing, much more insightful when I get to do this with people. And so becoming a part of a community like that Sober Guy podcast on Locals, check out the Locals community. You can join. Transitions Daily has a whole community. They have a Facebook group on there that you can find. That's transitionsdaily.org. That'll get you all the info you need. You get the daily AA email there. Get a part of that community. You can get a part of the Fourth Dimensioners community. The daily nightly meeting at 6 p.m. Pacific. Those links are in the show notes. Join a Facebook group. Join a men's group, a women's group. Join some sort of 12-step if you can, if you're struggling, and be active in it. That is what is going to take us to the next level and keep us moving forward, being around people and doing it together with people. And I can't stress that enough, how important it is not to get isolated. When we get isolated, we get depressed, we start questioning shit, and bad shit can happen. We need to stay in touch. Reach out to somebody. If you're struggling, reach out and ask for help. If you see someone struggling or you know of someone struggling, reach out to them and see how you can help them. It's going to help you too. That's how, this list, it really, and some of them, I get it. It's kind of sounds repetitive. Maybe for some of us who've been in recovery for a while, we've heard this many times. You can never hear it enough. You can never be reminded of it enough, because I forget. I'm doing the thing, the daily. I'm trying to grind away. I'm trying to go with the flow also. That's what I'm learning. I'm actually trying to less grind away, to be honest, these days. And it feels good. I used to have this mentality of like, you got to go. I need to make it happen. Go, 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 go. Do it. More. Goals. Not saying there's anything wrong with goals or visions or trying to make it happen. Sometimes, yeah, we got to take action, but there's a better way to go about it. At ease. In the moment, being okay with uncertainty, which I had a great conversation with Buddy this morning about. Having that person too that's a mentor to you, that is a friend to you, is very, very important. It's, call it a coach. Like, let's just say, because I know sometimes some people have a hard, and even myself included, have a hard thing, or it's difficult to look at like a sponsor or a mentor sometimes in recovery, because it's different. But maybe you played sports as a kid. Maybe you did something where you had a coach. It's a similar concept to that. We need somebody who is outside our reality, outside our perspective, to help us along the way, to call us out when we're getting off track a little bit, to build us up, when we're not feeling great, or just to talk to and bounce ideas off, ask questions. And just have some fun too. That is so important. So it is so important. I think that was number 2 on this list, was to get a sponsor, get a mentor, get a friend, and work the steps on there. Just a really big part of this. And they're all equally important. So if you want to see this list, there's a copy of the link to it in the show notes. You can go check it out there. You can also just go directly to transitionsdaily.org. You can get all this. I really want to encourage you to sign up for the daily email. One of my favorite things to use. I get it delivered right to my inbox. It's a great way to start the day. I'll post it actually in the Locals community. In there, I will take a little screenshot of something that stands out that day and throw it in there. And it's a good way to stay centered and focused. So check out the list. Shout out to Transitions. Thanks for creating this list and letting me go through it. I appreciate it. And I hope something spoke to you guys today. Share the podcast with a friend. Check us out at thatsoberguy.com. Connect with us on Locals. Click the link. Download the app. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your support. Stay sober. You can do it. Don't give up. We only remember this shit. We only lose when we give up. Do not give up. Keep your blood clean.